Do you know Mary Jacobsen Sorensen? Mary had fond memories of the Danish island farm of her early years. She learned to do fancy embroidery attending a dame's school and brought this alphabet sampler she had started in Denmark with her on the pioneer journey. The Danish thread on her childhood sampler stayed bright, while the American-bought thread used at the end faded, symbolic of how her Danish heritage stayed bright through all her life. Mary's childhood adventures on the trail included a chimney rock climb with friends, where they saw the wagon train pass below them and were then scolded for missing dinner, but clandestinely made pancakes on the banks of the river afterwards. In Utah, to alleviate her mother's illness, Mary sold some cherished earrings to a neighbor for $4 and then walked with a friend many miles to buy coffee beans and sugar. 2 Indians followed them threateningly out of the store, and a man rescued the girls in his wagon. Later, Mary would feel a twinge of regret seeing the neighbor wear her earrings, but said it didn't matter if it saved her mother's life. Mary learned English from borrowed books and earned money traveling around the community to spin wool and flax. She met her husband Isaac while spinning at his brother's house, and they must have been excited to discover they traveled in the same pioneer company 7 years earlier. Isaac, after their marriage, had been urged to take another wife, but Mary could not agree with the idea of polygamy. One evening, he went to a dance thinking about possible courtship, leaving Mary at home with 3 small children. She got ready herself, went to the dance, and left the babies sitting on the side of the room. She was asked to dance again and again and paid no attention to the babies wailing on the bench. Finally, Isaac could stand it no longer and said, "Mary, will you go home with me?" They gathered up their children, and that was the end of that. The Sorensens raised 11 redheaded and musical children, and Mary ran the home farm while Isaac returned to Denmark for a 2-year mission. They lived in the same house all their married life, a community gathering place, haven for visiting church leaders, refuge for immigrants, and place for musical rehearsals. Mary constantly had a book and sewing nearby. Her daughter said that Mary thrived on crowds and noise. Her big soft sugar cookies were a family favorite. She often stayed up late sewing costumes for children and loved to read about ancient Norsemen. She thought there was nothing finer than to be a Dane, and her daughter and granddaughter honored her Danish heritage in these poems. All 5 feet of Mary would square her shoulders, her blue eyes shining, and say to her grandchildren, "Always remember, vi is Vikings, and vi don't cry." The Sorensens are honored on both sides of the ocean. And now you know our Danish pioneer, Viking Mary Sorensen.